If you are using PuTTY like this one or MOBA Xterm like this over here to connect to your robot and start programming Python files, it can be pretty inconvenient because the Nano text editor is just not very dynamic. So one really nice tool is called vscode, Visual Studio Code, and shout out to Daniel for showing me how to set this up in the first place. You just need to go to the web, find the download, and get the download according to your machine. Initially, I didn't like to use this because, you know, as a mechanical engineer, I'm thinking, why do I need 3 or 4 softwares just to edit Python files? But after you spend some time programming, you can benefit from the efficiency of a dynamic editor. Also, I should note this isn't so important if you're already running Cloud9, which is installed on the BeagleBone by default, out of the box. So VS Code can remotely edit your Python files live on your robot, but first you have to set up the extensions. So you can see on my install I have 2 extensions, and the one we want to look at is this SFTP. The information for SFTP can be found here on this web page, and basically it's a step through a few clicks to install it, and then you need to configure it to connect to your machine, your robot. So a configuration file is going to get added, and I will show you how to do that now. If I close this window, then you're basically home, and you can type Control-Shift-P and type in SFTP:config. Grab this option, and it's going to open up a file that's basically configuring your VS Code's connection over SSH. So you name the connection however you want to. You make the host line agree with the IP address of your machine, your Scuttle, and you can leave these components. These components must agree with your login for your Raspberry Pi or Linux machine. And then you can leave these components as they are. And then Control S to save and close that. At this time, if I open up my SFTP menu and right click and hit open SSH in terminal, then enter my password, you are now involved in an SSH session with your robot inside the VS workspace. See, and you can see your files and do all your SSH stuff. The next thing is you can drop this down and discover all your files. If you want to start manipulating a file, we can go to a familiar one, PyScuttle and L3 chart.py. If you double click it, then you can view everything in here, but you can't start editing. See, you cannot edit in read-only editor. So what you can do is close this and right click, edit in local. That's going to produce a copy of the file here on your local machine instead of on your robot. And let's say we want to comment all this out. It's very convenient. Control/. Now I've commented the while loop. Control S to save, close that. And if you open it up again, then you see your changes reflected. The last thing to mention is just to be careful, since you do work with 2 different copies now when you have this tool, and pay attention to little details like this circle here tells me I haven't saved it yet. Control S changes it to an X, and all those little clues help keep you safe.